Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket of Think Tank. So here we are talking about part 2 of our review of Tom King's run on Batman. And honestly, I think this part here, the War of Jokes and Riddles to the Travelers, or The Gift as it's sometimes called, actually The Gift is the name of the last story. I think it's sort of Tom King's best and his worst. Like, if you were to view the I Am Gotham to I Am Bane as sort of him getting his feet wet, sort of him sort of testing the waters of where he can go, where he feels he can go with Batman, this is him sort of understanding that and running with it. And I think it's a bit of a struggle for him for this part. And the first story, War of Jokes and Riddles, I think is, in my opinion, his most ambitious story, and is also, I think, his his biggest missed opportunity. Because I always felt the problem with War of Jokes and Riddles was the scale. So anyway, quick recap as to what the story is. So if you recall, when we last did this in part one, that story ended. Well, that part ended with Batman proposing to Catwoman, or more appropriately, Batman taking his cowl off, revealing he's Bruce Wayne, Selina taking her little helmet cowl off to reveal that she's Selina, and Bruce proposing to her. Now, before she can give an answer, Bruce needs to tell her about the War of Jokes and Riddles. And the War of Jokes and Riddles feels like when Scott Snyder took over, he did a story called Zero Year. And Zero Year feels like the prequel to this in some ways. And King sort of mentions it. So the problem going on for this is at this point, it's about a year into Batman's career. I feel like he's got everything under control, but there's a problem. Namely, the fact that Joker can't laugh. Joker's not even smiling. And Riddler has a problem. He can't solve the problem of Batman. So Riddler one day approaches Joker after having just walked out of prison because he's the Riddler, or the asylum. I forget which one. Doesn't really matter where they go. They're going to get out. So he goes to Joker, who's been just going to all these comedy clubs and killing people who can't make him laugh, and really goes, I know the problem is Batman has made it so things aren't funny, because you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to do a thing, Batman's going to stop you from doing a thing, and there you are. See, there's no punchline, there's no laughter, and I can't solve the mystery of Batman. I can't figure out how to deal with him, so we'll just have to kill him. And the problem is, you and me, we're two of the big ones, alright? And really pretty much like, look, if you and I go at it, we'll fight each other, we'll kill each other, and nothing gets done. The only thing that happens is Batman gets to go, well, that's two down. And first, Riddler suggests, like, well, we could work together, we all come out of this as heroes, quote unquote. And Joker, being Joker, doesn't really buy that. And that's sort of what leads to this turf war. It's pretty much a gang war between the two different factions, and they've each got their own support. Like, Riddler has Killer Croc, Clayface, Deathstroke, Scarecrow, Ivy, Two-Face, and Joker has Penguin, Mad Hatter, Deadshot, Man-Bat, Solomon and Grundy, Bone on a Monday, Deadshot, Mr. Freeze, and they just sort of go at it, with Gotham City being the battleground, with the objective being, we have to kill Batman. And as Bruce is telling the story, he's recounting that this is the story of his biggest failure, or at least his darkest secret as Batman. And the problem with the story is because you probably think it sounds great. I think it sounds great. Turf war between Joker and Riddler, Batman trying to calm it down when in reality he's also the target. The problem with this story is it never quite feels fully realized because we know where it has to go. We have to find exactly where Batman failed. What is the dark secret? And even more so with the addition of the character Kite Man. So Kite Man is one of those old DC villains that, was around for a while and then just sort of faded out into obscurity, along with characters like Pharaonic Man and even Magpie. Well, at least Magpie got to be on Beware the Batman. And the trick is here, Kite Man, I think, is one of the stand-ins for Tom King. Tom King is one of those writers that likes to self-insert a version of himself into the story, especially if it is true that, I wouldn't be Kite Man, Tom King was a divorcee. He's a divorcee, and in the story, we see Kite Man, or Charles Brown, as he's called. I think it's Chuck Brown, but you get a Charlie Brown, Kite Man, ha 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 ha. he's pretty much revealed to be a joke. And this story, Kite Man is the biggest victim of this story because he's tormented by a Riddler, then he goes off with Joker, then Batman's trying to convince Kite Man, hey, look, I need you to report to me about what Joker's doing, or report to me about Riddler's doing, try to play the fields and I'll keep your son safe. That doesn't work. Like, Kite Man's life and pretty much his sanity is destroyed over the course of the story. And ultimately what this is Batman being constantly put on the back foot. He can't get to anything in time. All he can really do is get there to stop one side from fighting the other, and that's pretty much it. The idea is they want Batman. So should he turn himself in? The really cool thing about this, I think my favorite part of this, is that Bruce decides, well, you know what we need now is Bruce Wayne. We need someone to bring these two people together for like a peace talk to figure out exactly what happened. So he makes a speech. He invites Joker and Riddler and their forces to dinner at Wayne Manor, and they just sort of like talk it out. And Bruce's like, okay, guys, so is there any way we can end this amicably? We can not cause any problems. And it doesn't. So Bruce's like, okay, tell you what, I will give $1 billion to whichever one of you can make the better argument why you should be the one to kill Batman. And Joker makes a really fun argument that, I'm Joker. It makes perfect sense that I should be the one to kill Batman. It's the Riddler. Who cares about the Riddler? Riddler tries to go for something a bit more logical based, but Joker's argument is still the best. So Bruce's like, okay, so we're all good. We've had dinner. We've had pretty much a 9-course meal. What have we learned? Well, Batman ends up siding with Riddler. And what's really cool, or at least the shocking part about this, is that when Batman is able to get a hold of both of them, when he's able to pull the great trick, and he thinks he's got the whole thing under control, where he's isolated both parties' main forces, just him versus Riddler and Joker, and he can take those two. It turns out Riddler has been not trying to kill Batman. He's been trying to make the Joker laugh. Like, everything he did to Kite Man, everything is done with the war of jokes and riddles. Getting invited to Bruce Wayne's house for dinner was all an attempt to make Joker laugh. He even looks Batman in the eye and says, look, I don't care about you. You think this is about you? No. You're an amusement to us. All right, we all laugh at you at some point in the day. Like, yeah, you punch us and we don't care. All right, you're a distraction. You're that riddle that everyone knows the answer to, but we keep going back to because it's familiar, it's comfortable, and it passes the time. And when Batman hears about this, he just sort of snaps and he actually attempts to kill the Riddler. And Joker is the one that actually stops Batman from doing it, and that's what makes Joker laugh. Like, the absurdity of it. And the three of them have never told anyone about this. As far as we know, Joker has never told anyone about what happened. Riddler has never told anyone. And this is Bruce's secret shame, that he was so far behind, that he was broken and pushed to the limit of violating his code, that it ultimately reveals this horrible truth about him, that he's just a joke. And Selina hears and says, like, I don't care. Like, there's a bit more of a poetic slant to it, but ultimately she says, like, look, I don't care, I love you, and yes, I'll marry you. So then, the next part is rules of engagement. Now, rules of engagement is pretty much, we didn't really need Batman in this story, honestly. So, if Bruce and Selina want to get married, I mean Bruce and Selina, not Batman and Catwoman, if they want to get married, they have to deal with this thing that's called Selina is set to be executed. So they have to find Holly Robinson. So it turns out Holly Robinson was the one who actually killed all those people. And Selina took the blame for it. And this is pretty in line with Selina's character. She's always looked after Holly. She's taught Holly everything she knows. Batman Year One by Frank Miller has Holly as a character, and even the expanded Arkham materials from the Arkham games mentions Holly at least once or twice as someone Selina will go to hell for. So they have to find Holly, and where's Holly? Holly's in Kadim, and Kadim is this place that is super off limits. The Justice League declared it off limits. To go into Kadim, if you're anyone, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the President, it's an act of war. And the question is, well, who's in there? Who's there? Can't just be Holly. No, it's Talia al Ghul. So, yeah, Bruce has to visit his ex. And what's interesting about this story, even though I said we don't really need Batman, it is the back and forth banter between Bruce and Selina. The Bat Cat thing is really just sort of starting now. It hasn't really, you know, grained your nerves yet. But there's some fun banter about, Selena going like, oh, we're visiting the ex. Okay, this can't be that bad. Like, oh, it's terrible. These people are out to kill us. And the fact is that just by being here, Bruce is breaking a whole bunch of international laws, and it's like the second time he's done it on Tom King's run. And at the same time, on their way to it, Alfred tells the Robins that, hey, Bruce is marrying Selina, and everyone's freaking out. Jason's like, well, you, the new guy, Duke Thomas, you're a Robin, right? You're the new Robin. You're supposed to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid like this. And Duke's like, I'm not Robin. Damien's Robin. Damien's like, oh crap, yes I am. I've failed. And he's pretty upset. So Dick and Damien go to Kadim to try to figure out what's going on, try to stop him, and they're met by Superman. And the reason I'm bringing this part up is because it will play a role later. Superman shows up in front of Dick and Damien goes like, you know what, people keep thinking that it has to be kryptonite. And I wouldn't use kryptonite to beat you. I'd use magic. Sell my soul to a demon, blah, 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 hocus pocus, abracadabra, you're dead. And that's going to happen later on. We're going to see Damien use some magic. But the really cool part about this is when Superman goes like, look, I'm not saying you can't use magic. I'm pretty sure you could. But if you do kill me, or if you try to kill me, then John might not want to go adventuring with you anymore. So Superman wants to stop Dick and Damien from going in, but he gets a call about an alien invasion, so he's got to up and away. And Damien and Dick have a talk while Selina and Talia fight. And these two conversations are important. And it's sort of why I said Bruce doesn't really need to be in this story, where Talia and Selina have a conversation about whether or not Selina is worthy of Batman, of Bruce, of the detective. To which Selina implies that, Bruce isn't the be-all, end-all. Batman isn't the be-all, end-all guy. He's this scared little messed up kid who made a vow when he was like 10 years old, and he will prioritize that vow over everything. Over me, over you. He'll betray us to keep that vow. But she loves him anyway. Dick and Damien sort of talk about why Bruce didn't tell them in the first place. And Damien doesn't quite get it, but Dick says, like, well, one thing Bruce isn't is selfish, and he'll give everything he has. He'll be the first one to bleed before anyone else. And for the first time, he wants something. He's sort of not asking permission for it. He just wants it. He wants to try to be happy, and he hasn't been happy in a long, long time. Selina somehow wins her fight with Talia. The reason I say somehow is because while it's an interesting sword fight, I don't believe Talia is inferior to Selina in terms of swordsmanship. It could be an argument as to how Selina wins, but it doesn't really matter. It's sort of the beginning of the hyper competency of Selina that Tom King has taken here. And they find Holly. They convince Holly to turn herself in, which is still weird. They've been able to pull some strings so Holly won't have to die like Selina will. But overall, everything seems great. Talia gives as good of a blessing as she can get. Then we come to an annual. And I have a love-hate relationship with annuals when it comes to comic books. So this annual is called Some of These Days. It's annual number 2 for Tom King. And this annual is sweet, but it's also a bit much. So this annual is pretty much the first meeting of Batman and Catwoman to the final moments of Bruce and Selina. So the problem with the beginning moments is it sort of amps up Selina's competency again to the point where she just knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, I know who Batman is. He's Bruce Wayne, and I'm going to make him better. I'm going to make him be a better crime fighter. We don't quite know why. I think the story here is that Tom King wants to play fast and loose with Bruce and Selina's continuity. He wants to try to have it both ways. Like, hey, we met in Batman Year 1. No, we met in an actual Detective Comics issue. And they sort of have a back and forth about that. But because it doesn't matter. What matters is they're together. And there's no real moment when I think that Selina actually falls for Bruce. But there's a fun little back and forth about their romance in this story. And then eventually when they're married and Bruce getting Alzheimer's and his eventual death. And it's really sweet and tender. But the beginning always sort of stuck in my craw a bit. Overall, this annual was harmless. And it was sweet, but at the same time, you didn't quite need it. Then we come to the Superfriends story. Now, the Superfriends story is actually, I think, Tom King's best written story. It starts off with Bruce effectively having adventures with his two best non-Bat family friends, Superman and Wonder Woman. And the meeting with Superman is, I think, the best friends story. So in that story, Superman is talking to Lois, and Batman's talking to Selina slash Catwoman, and they don't. They're both pointing out that neither Batman and Superman have called each other to tell each other about the fact that, hey, Batman's getting married. Superman hasn't called to congratulate. And the reason they do is because they both don't quite know how to talk to each other. Like they're friends, they're best friends, but they have so much respect for each other. They don't quite feel that they have the right to bother each other with their sort of simple problems. Like Batman looks at Superman and says, like, this man's world was destroyed. He's a survivor of effectively a Holocaust, as he described it. It's weird, but Superman goes, he's like, his world ended when he was just 7 years old. Or just walked down an alley and, his parents were shot right in front of him. They both sort of see the other as the best kind of hero. And so it's really cool that they sort of meet in happenstance. They're both investigating a crime that leads to the same building. And when they meet up, Selina and Lois go, "Hi, I'm Lois. Hi, I'm Selina. So you want to go do something?" And they do. They go on a double date. They go to like this theme park where only superheroes, where you have to wear a superhero costume to get in. So Batman and Superman switch costumes. Lois dresses up as Catwoman. Selina wears Lois's dress and just sort of like flirts her way through. And they pretty much just have a conversation about exactly why they got this. So Lois asks Selina why Batman. Selina says, because he catches me when I fall. That hits Lois where she lives. She's lived her entire life being caught by Superman, so works. Bruce sort of says the same thing about Selina to Clark, and it's a really sweet friendship moment where we sort of see this extra layer to them. And Tom King, I think he surprises everyone with this, so at least he surprised me. I think it really is one of his best stories. And then we go to the interaction with Wonder Woman, and the interaction with Wonder Woman is, I think it should be more controversial than it is, but it's one of those shipping war moments. So, like, hey, Wonder Bat is better than Batcat, or Batcat's better than Wonder Bat. So Wonder Woman says it's time. The gentleman, this dude who fights off the forces of hell in another dimension, says he was ready to switch out for a day. So in this dimension, superpowers don't work, and Bruce and Diana agreed, like, hey, when you just want a day to just sort of, not, we'll take your spot for the day. And what the gentleman doesn't tell them is how time works there. So 1 hour in quote unquote the real world, the main DC universe, outside of the forces of Gehenna, 1 hour is like years. So they go down there and they spend a good period of time together, and it gets kind of hot and heavy for a moment. And you think, in this dimension, in this place where, they don't know if they're going to live or die, and they're just them fighting a horde of demons and whatnot, would they break their vows, their commitment to their respective partners? Diana with Steve Trevor, and Bruce with Selina. And you think they would, but they ultimately don't. And I don't think anyone would have faulted them, but this was a great tease for Wonder Bat fans. I know, because I'm a Wonder Bat fan. And the comic actually, the first part of the comic actually ends with them leaning in about to kiss, and they go like, wait, no, we can't. Steve's a good guy, Selina's a good woman. We have to be worthy of those people. But other people are like, it's been like, what, 40 years you've been stuck here? Come on. No one would really fault you. Selina's like, look, I wouldn't really blame you, but we'd have a talk afterwards. I just don't know. Overall, the Super Friends story is, again, I think, some of his best writing. If you were sort of like the I Am Gotham story up to I Am Bane, the War of Jokes and Riddles up to this point, I think, is really, really solid. But then the problem comes. And this is sort of where I think we reach Tom King starting to lose the grip on the story a bit, because everything's building up to the wedding, but we have to stretch it out. We have to put other stuff here. And one thing Tom King wants to put up here is build up to his story, Heroes in Crisis, which we talked about on this channel, and how it kind of sucks. So anyway, the first story of leading up to Heroes in Crisis is Everyone Loves Ivy. And Ivy in the War of Jokes and Riddles killed a bunch of people. At least she thinks she killed a bunch of people. And that really messed her up to the point where now in the present day, she's using her powers to mind control the entire planet. Because apparently, that night, one night, everyone on the planet ate the vegetables, including people in third world countries who probably don't have access to the specific vegetables or probably don't even get to eat vegetables once a day. But anyways, Ivy has control of the people. Batman or is able to like, wait, something's going on in my brain. Ivy's trying to control me. Quick, get an antidote. Shh. Oh wait, Selina's been temporarily controlled. Quick, give her an antidote. Shh. All right, we're out of antidote. And Ivy has the entire planet under control. The best thing about this story is the dialogue with Selina, because Selina just rolls with the fact that, oh hey, Ivy's got the entire planet. Well, you know what? You know what would be really cool when we go to the wedding? Guess who's gonna give me away? Ivy. Guess who's gonna be your best man? Ivy. Guess who's gonna be my maid of honor? Ivy. Guess who's going to hold the ceremony? Ivy. And it's fun. But there's also a really cool idea that King tries to handle, which is the competency of Catwoman again. So Superman is following, mind-controlled Superman is following Batman and Catwoman around. So Batman does a high-pitched whistle that pretty much takes Superman out. The reason this works is because Superman would know to when to turn his super hearing down. Ivy doesn't. So when Bruce makes that high-pitched whistle, it just knocks Superman out because he had a super hearing on. So then 3 flashes attack Selina. Selina's able to take them out one at a time with 1 hit each. And the whole time I'm thinking, well, at the speed they were going at, Selina's leg should be broken. There's no way she could have accurately timed when 3 speeches were coming up here. Once again, we've amped up her competency for this. And then, over the course of this story, ultimately what is revealed is that Ivy didn't actually kill anybody. And Ivy's entire life, up to that point, has been defined by the fact that she may have killed some people that she didn't want to kill. And, or as I've constantly called it, Poison Ivy didn't do nothing. Harley comes in and says, oh, it's okay, it's alright. I'm like, well, no, she's still a murderer. She still killed a bunch of other people before this. So, what? I don't know. It's just like, this story is sort of pretentious, and it's sort of been an issue I've had with female villains in the Batman universe, is that a lot of them keep being written off as victims as opposed to, actual, criminal masterminds, which I think they should be. Then we come to the gift. The gift is by default the dumbest thing you'll ever read up to this point in Tom King's run. So, Booster Gold wants to give a present to Batman. Like, he's getting married. I know what I'll do. I'm going to go back in time, save his parents, let Bruce live his life with his parents, and then I'm going to undo it. So that way Bruce will realize that his life was better off with his parents dead. Yeah, so if you don't get how stupid that is, please, rewind and listen to that again. So, Bruce, apparently in a world where Bruce's parents are alive, or as I call it, when all the Waynes are alive, the DC Universe is a terrible place. Penguin is president, Talia is unhappy, like Joker's become like a massive force in the world, Dick Grayson wants to be the Punisher, Catwoman has gone full Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and it's just terrible. On the plus side, the Robins are all happy, minus Damian, who's never been born. So, when Booster tries to go fix it, it actually goes downhill because a bunch of people die, and Bruce realizes, okay, actually, I do know that this isn't real. I know this isn't the right timeline. Bruce sort of goes crazy, like, I'm not giving up this happy life, so he destroys Skeets, the main method by which Booster can go back and forward in time, so he can't fix this. And then next thing we know, Selina shows up, chased by Punisher Dick Grayson. Selina kills Thomas Wayne. Nightwing, or Dick Grayson as a Punisher, kills Selina. Whole bloodbath. Even Martha is killed, and Bruce is driven crazy. He holds Booster hostage, and Booster has to go back in time. He finds a way to go back in time, and he kills himself. He actually shoots himself to stop him. Or was it he tried to kill the Waynes? It doesn't matter. Like, the solution to this was totally stupid and totally crazy and made no sense. And that's actually how we're going to end this part of Tom King's run on Batman. So, what do we learn about part 2? Well, part 2 is, like I said, it's King sort of realizing what he wants to do with Batman. Like I said, the I Am Gotham to I Am Bane is him sort of getting his toes wet, him sort of getting into the Batman waves, at least in my mind, what he's trying to do here. And here we see some of his best and some of his worst. if you were to take out the obvious heroes in crisis setup, I think this part would actually be very good. And what comes later, I think, is more tied to the actual wedding, because you could argue that the Everyone Loves Ivy and the gift storylines ultimately aren't part of Tom King's own main Batman story. They're actually part of something else. He just used the wedding as an opportunity to put those stories in. And if you take them out, maybe Tom King's run is stronger for it. Anyway, with that in mind, we'll bring this video to close here. If you're new to the Bucket Thing, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section what you felt about some of these stories in Tom King's run, and I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.